Do you secretly hope Jesus will come back and send all liberals to hell? Or that he'll come back and send all conservatives to hell? If you do, then, we got to talk. And I am here with my buddy Mike. And the reason I mentioned that question right there, or that frame it that way, the start of our episode here, is that Mike actually had some feedback after our last video together. And he was thinking that maybe that's what I thought. And I spent some time just before we got started here trying to convince him otherwise. And so now now that we've sorted out some of those kinks, we are going to share with you, because, man, it's not a good world if we're all hoping that the other team just gets burned eternally in fire and sulfur. So, Mike.
Yes.
What do you got to share with us? What was it that made you come away last week thinking that that's what I wanted? Which, by the way, I don't. In case you're wondering, I want Jesus to come back and to fix everything so that I can enjoy life in the perfect peace and joy and tranquility of the new heavens and the new earth with my liberal friends that are, obviously Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. That's what we believe. So it's not because you're a liberal. It would be because of Jesus. We don't have to get too distracted on that rabbit hole. But, I just look forward to this day where we can all, that's the kumbaya day. That's the, hey, can't we all just get along, right? But what was it that made you think that I want liberals to go to hell?
I don't know if it was like that explicit, but it was kind of like, it was the recent Rapture show. Like I was watching, I had to work over the weekend and I was watching that, and it seemed like the examples of like when Jesus gets here, these are the people that are not going to like it. It seemed like those were all like liberal people, not just by the descriptions of them, like that they're whiny or like they're like getting privileges based on their disabilities or whatever. And then when Jesus comes back, all that bull crap's gonna go in the fire kind of thing. And then it wasn't that serious. It wasn't that serious. It's just,
you got to give me some timestamps when we're done, because I want to go back and I want to go and say, oh my God, I'm crazy. Or, Mike, what are you smoking?
No, we liberals talk the same way. So, except most liberals don't believe in God.
There you go. So,
but they do. It's just more. They're more like the older church ladies. But yeah. But I think it's natural to like anybody that's annoying. You just I won't have to deal with them anymore. Like you don't necessarily want them dead. It's just you don't have to be annoyed by them all the time.
Yeah, and the reverse is true too. Like we won't be annoying. I don't know if you ever have that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you do, just by the way we speak together. Like there are times where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm just like being this annoying person right now, and I don't want to, but I don't really have a choice because this really has to get fixed or something like that,
Yeah.
I will say that in a lot of so when Scott and I are in here, we both tend to spend some time joking before we get started about a lot of different things. He leans conservative, I lean conservative, and so some of that involves those types of things. And then we come across these Bible passages that people, clearly have not read, and yet they characterize Jesus in a very particular way. Basically, the American version of Jesus in a lot of people's minds is just like this delicate little flower, with all these nice, wonderful things to say. But if you really read what Jesus said in the Gospels,
yeah,
you'd find out he's one badass mofo. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's sort of
the disciples are always scared of him.
Yeah, they're like, you talk to him. No, you talk to him. No, you ask him. It's like, and then there's a couple of spots where it's like, he knew what they were talking about, and he approaches them, and they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, what were you arguing about on the road? You know, like, oh, Dad found out. I want to melt away into, right? So that's sort of what has been happening, honestly, to me, because if you had talked to me about 6 years ago, 7, maybe 8 years ago, I was immersed in a very militantly conservative environment, but it was a church. And I think that's a key distinction, right? So, like, when we're talking about politics, the way I talk about politics is very different from the way I would talk about being a faithful Christian. And being a faithful Christian, we are called to care about people, all kinds of people. We're called to be, people that love other people and serve other people, people that are not trying to be in charge, right? Not seeking the highest place, not getting all the attention. We're the greatest among you will be a servant and a slave of all, Jesus says, right? So that's a way that you got to talk about it. And when you take that and then you try and impose it on a church and Christians, like, it doesn't jive right. And I've seen the weaknesses, and I've tried to push back on those. But then, I got here. I lived through the 2020s up until this point, and I have just seen how it's an untenable way to operate a government, or really a society at large that isn't the consummated kingdom of Christ upon his return, right? Like, at the return of Christ, it will be like a communist socialist utopia, basically, right? In a sense, everybody will have everything. Everybody will have all that they need. Everyone will serve one another. The greatest will be the weakest, like, and the humblest.
You won't need police or.
Yeah, but that's only because the number one authority has set himself up over everything and fully and finally defeated all of his enemies and locked them up forever. And that's why right? Like,
yeah, like, he's going to fix our selfishness. So, I mean, that's a big part of it too.
Like, circumcised hearts.
He won't need to, like, because the dog will just walk next to you. They won't be like, blah, 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 crazy.
We will have circumcised hearts, right? The part of the Old Testament and the prophetic books, I think, there's a piece that's cut away. That's the flesh part. Not flesh as physical versus not physical, but flesh as in the sinful flesh of us will be removed.
Yeah, the part that doesn't care about the other person.
And the fire that's going to come, I think a piece of it is like what we hear in the Proverbs about, like heating up silver and taking away the dross, silver and gold. You heat it up, you melt it, the imperfections all float to the top, you take it off, and now you've got a purer metal, right? I think, or like a forest, right? You have this fire, it purges it, and then it helps it renews it. It makes it something pure and perfect and beautiful and amazing and all that kind of stuff. So all of that's coming, and the bad's going to be taken away. And the good news of Jesus is that because Jesus came the first time in humility to suffer and die on a cross, when he comes again in glory and he purges away the evil, he does away with evil fully and finally forever, he doesn't have to do away with us. And I would say that's conservatives and liberals, right? We are all evil. We are all wicked. We are all sinful in our own way. And if Jesus comes and does away with all the evil in the world, like many of us want him to, but he hasn't first dealt with the sin in us, well, then he has to do away with us too. So I'm looking forward to a day where we all live in not conservative. Have you seen those videos, like AI generated videos, like what it would be like if the world was only Republicans, and then they've got another one where it's like, what if it's only Democrats?
I think I've seen some of those. Yeah.
And it's like, it seems great, depending on your perspective, right? Like if you're a liberal, you look at the liberal, let's say it's great. But then if you look at the Republican conservative one, then you go, oh yeah, it seems great for the first minute or so. And then you get to a point in the video where it's like the full reality of what it would actually be like if everything was only run in a conservative or liberal way of thinking. You go, oh yeah, see, this doesn't work completely. Like you can't.
Yeah, it's like we need each other to, a certain extent.
Yes. So I'm not looking for one of those liberal utopias or conservative utopias. I'm looking for the kingdom of Christ in all its fullness, a world without evil, a world without anger and bitterness and hatred and violence and so many other things. Like, that's the world I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to a world where I don't long for something or feel every day like I'm in a foreign land. I had a moment on Sunday morning. I was getting ready for church, and I was listening to this group. It's called the Sons of Korah, and these guys started putting the Psalms to music, and they're trying to do all of them. They haven't done all of them yet, but like just the Psalms, not like contemporary Christian music where they kind of jazz up the Psalms and they include it in part of it. It's like, no, it's the Psalms. And Psalm 137, one of the most brutal Psalms, and we can talk about that later, but people look at that and go like, oh, I don't want to.
Is that the baby one?
Yeah, where they smashing babies against, But there's a line in there that provides context, I think. It says, how can we sing songs in a foreign land? And I heard that line, just that line, and it like stopped me dead in my tracks while I'm rushing around trying to get ready for church on Sunday morning. And it like almost brought me to like weeping tears. Like my eyes got watery, and I just stopped, and I was like, I am in a foreign land. You are in a foreign land. We are all in a foreign land. We all sense it. We all feel it. But the hope of a Christian is that we won't always be in a foreign land. Just like in that psalm, there was hope that they wouldn't remain in Babylon forever, that the Israelites would be returned to their land, to their home. It would feel right? They would be in their own skin, not in some weird skin. And I just thought about that. I was like, oh my goodness, yeah. And yet we are called to sing songs in a foreign land. We are called to rejoice and celebrate the future, the home that we have been promised, that we have been told is being prepared for us. And, and that's the context of the song. Like the Israelites, it starts out, Psalm 137 starts out with basically their tormentors, their captors, demanding that they sing songs about Zion. And it's totally to
like they're mocking them.
Yeah, they're mocking them. They're just saying, go ahead, sing us those songs about how Jerusalem is awesome and how Israel is great, while you look at how we are enslaving you now, or how we beat your babies' heads against rocks, right? Like, that when that line comes up in Psalm 137, it's blessed is the one who does to them what they did to us, right? So that's what the Babylonians did to the Israelites and their babies, and it's like the Exodus. Oh, God is so bad. He killed all the Egyptian firstborn. Yeah, well, the Egyptians had been doing that for a long time. They were enslaved for 400 years. And who knows how long they were killing their babies, So it's
right.
But
God takes sides.
I'm looking forward to a day when we're no longer in a foreign land, and that Christ is king. He's not a president. He's not a prime minister. He's not a democratically elected anything. He is the emperor of the universe and not Emperor Palpatine, right? Like, he is the pure and perfect creator and Lord of heaven and earth. And everything will just feel right. That's what I'm looking forward to. And I'm looking forward to the day when I'm not such an a-hole, and when my liberal and conservative friends and in between are not a-holes either. I'm looking for a day when we all just like, it's okay. We don't have to fight anymore. It's good. It's all good.
Yeah. I know you get kind of burnt out on the fighting. Just like, man, I'm tired. I don't know. I just want to watch NASCAR or
something. Well, and that's what sports was for a long time. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case for a little while now. It's gotten politicized a little bit. And anyway, yeah. I didn't intend to insult anybody. And
okay. It's
I
fine.
love. Oh, and so the reason why I wanted to have conversations like this is like, I actually think we need to reach liberals. Like you mentioned a little while ago, there aren't very many liberals that believe in God. Like, I think we need to reach them, and I think that could be a unifying thing. I mean, they could still be very, very devout liberals, maybe, but I think we need some cross-pollination, so to speak. We need more commonality, and I think that could be one of the big drivers of what's been happening. Although I have seen a lot of, conservative Christians, meaning like people that believe Jesus was a real guy and the Bible is authoritative and he really died and he really rose, and that kind of view of things. I think a lot of them have moved left with Trump. It's been a bridge too far. They're, like you said earlier, they just really, they feel other people's pain. And I know I may not talk like that, but I do actually. Like, that's why I was getting sucked into the left repeatedly, and why I kind of walked away from the right. But my brain at this point has been telling me, like, can't let your feelings win. You got to use your brain right now, and that's how I am where I am. But I think if we have more people that were willing to have this dialogue, more people that were willing to call all sides to account, our own side particularly, I think we'd be in a better place.
Yeah. I mean, you need the emotions to give you the urge to do anything, to act. But then at the same time, if they're just so overwhelming, kind of shut you down, and you're not going to really be able to accomplish the things you need to. We talked before about this guy, the Wilberforce and the John Newton guy. Like, they worked for years to get slavery abolished in Britain, and like they wouldn't be able to do that if they were just like, a basket case on the floor every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had to make friends with people that were in favor of slavery and were part of the slave industry. And John Newton, I'm sure, had those contacts and was able to be a good lobbyist to them. So I'm sure he had to take them out to dinner and make sure they had a good time. And what are you doing with that guy? He's a slaver.
Yeah.
But our purity tests, Abraham Lincoln did the same thing.
Well, so, he had quite the cabinet, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Team of rivals, was that?
Yeah.
That's a book on
something
Trump,
like that.
Or is that? But that's a phrase, I think, that comes from Lincoln.
Yeah. So it's like, eventually we're going to have to like grow up and be adults and like figure out solutions to like these very difficult problems. And, it's not all just like this person's bad and that person's good. And we can just like make the world our fingers and it magically like comes into the way it's supposed to be. Like it's hard work. Every little thing you do is hard work. So
yeah,
like we need each other
a lot more than we realize. And
my dogs.
Yeah, I'm sure. I do actually, maybe we didn't talk about this last time, but I do actually have some of the similar concerns that you do about these conversations that we're having. Because there's a local group here. It's called the SMA, the Slidell Ministers Association. I'm sure if you sat through one of the meetings, you would have, heart failure, possibly. Maybe. And I will say that there are definitely times where I've encountered like, oh, that's kind of what everyone gets upset about, isn't it? Like it's actually kind of there. I would say it's not abundantly obvious.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's just, it's on the edges, I guess.
And I wonder what that could mean for me. They meet in our church right now, and they have like a TPUSA person who comes on a regular basis. TPUSA is Turning Point USA, which is very conservative leaning. It's Charlie Kirk's organization. And there are people very involved in the TPUSA faith portion. And I have wondered, like, hey, the SMA has a TPUSA faith chapter. Hey, the SMA meets at Open Arms. Hey, look at all those kids there. Hey, they're wicked and evil and a threat to democracy and Hitler. And, hey, maybe we should go there and we should, make a statement by being violent. I don't know how. I don't want to say it because I feel like it would, like, undo our ability to post this. But, you know, basically some of the things that have been happening to conservatives and conservative organizations and churches where violence is brought to their.
Okay.
So I feel like it's made.
Or like getting doxxed and stuff.
Yeah, it could potentially make us a target. And
right.
But at the same time, I think we need more Jesus. And I may not agree with all the Jesus people, but I think we need more Jesus. And I think this is the moment where things are moving back in that direction with a lot of ugliness and unpleasantness, but I'm not sure it was much worse, much better before. There was plenty of ugliness, and the ugliness...
Yeah, so like, if I'm hearing you right, it seems like you're saying, like, the way you guys feel now with Trump, like, we felt that way for, like, 30 years, and we just had to keep our head down and try, like, not to get everybody to be pounding on us because they thought we were, like, hicks or, like, racist or uneducated doofuses.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally my entire life. There's a guy on X that I saw today. I forget his name, Matt something. And he's got this post. He does this fairly regularly, and they're not the same one. It's like a new one where he'll tell a story about somebody. Like, I think the one I saw today was, so there's this guy at the gym that, we were friendly. We'd do small talk. When I would go to the gym, he'd be at the gym, and we'd just shoot the breeze, and it was nice. And, nothing really significant, but, just shooting the breeze. And then one day he just, like, stopped that whole thing, that all of it stopped. Like, he just didn't even look at me. He didn't anything. And then come to find out, somebody talked to him about, oh, hey, isn't that the guy that posts conservative content on X? And he looked him up, and, now he disowned the guy. Like, he wants nothing to do with him. But then he goes on to say how awful it really is. Like, it's not just this one instance. He's talking about hundreds and thousands of people that just have completely want no association with him whatsoever. And he said it's even worse for his wife. He's like, liberal women are awful to other women, to conservative women. And
I think that's true in general of women.
Well, it is true in general of women that but I think
I get your point. Yeah, I get your
I
point.
think objectively, if you really looked at it objectively, liberal women are far worse to conservative women than conservative women are to liberal women or conservative women are to conservative women. Like, take the women part out. It's
Okay.
It's really bad. And, this is why all the whining, sorry to use that term again, but the whining about the left, about sensitivities and about, kindness and all these other things have never resonated because it's the complete epitome of hypocrisy. I don't know a whole lot of people on the left that if I didn't do the I'm an independent dance, they would immediately get angry and nasty and cut off ties and possibly take further action against me or my family. Like, I'm not saying that they would necessarily harm us physically. I'm just saying that the social,
right. Yeah, that's a real thing.
Conservative people really just want to be left alone. Like, they don't. That's why it took somebody like a Trump, and it took the awfulness of the Biden years to really, and COVID in particular, to get conservative people like rallied, because really we would just like, yeah, it's bad, but it's like, you ever see the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson? It's maybe like 25.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I haven't
30
seen
years
that one.
old. He's this guy who served in maybe like the French and Indian War, which I know maybe that's the name of the war.
Yeah.
The British are fighting the French and the Native Americans, and it's before the Revolution. He's a colonist. He gets enlisted to fight with the British against the French and the Native Americans, and he's seen a lot. Yeah, they have these flashbacks, and he just hates war, but he was good at it. But because he was good at it, he's got a lot of guilt and memories and things like that. So he ends up living on this, isolated piece of land somewhere in, I don't know if it was like South Carolina or something like that, maybe, or somewhere else. And he just wants to be left alone. And that is really the mindset of most conservatives. Like, if you, particularly conservative men, they just want to be left alone. But at some point in that movie, Mel Gibson's character is no longer able to do that. And when he was no longer able to do that, he dove in with both feet, and it was the end, right? Like, that was it. And then there's another scene where there's like a pastor at some church where they're trying to rally people to the revolutionary cause. And they're all shocked when the day finally comes to round up men for the militia that, oh, he's there too. And, whoa, Reverend, you're going? Yeah, well, sometimes you have to preach from the pulpit, and sometimes you have to help beat away the wolves, or something. There's a line that he has there. And there was a definite, there were real issues that were beginning to impact everyday people and terrify everyday people, that people who would almost rather die than have to say anything in, align themselves with a political party or politician. Yeah. They finally said no. And so when you see somebody come out as a conservative, like that's like a LGBT.
Like they're taking a risk.
Yeah, it's like an LGBT person coming out 30 years ago. Like, that's what it was. This was not nothing. And so we didn't really talk about this last time, but it's definitely a thing for me. And I still don't really want to be associated with either of these sides, because there's problems on both sides, and endorse a person. I think it is kind of ridiculous sometimes that people fawn over our president.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of celebrity.
But I
goes with it.
I don't think it's as many as you might think.
They probably just it's like Reagan. Like they like him.
Yeah, he's funny. Like they like he's him. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like you were saying last time that.
Yeah.
You kind of like the way he jokes about things, and you're like, is this humor thing? Like, am I basically supporting evil?
Yeah, it's like he has a skill. Like, he could use it for bad if he wanted to.
Well, and there are people that think he is actually, right? Like they think he is using that for evil. But I think the same could be said about Obama, who's got a way of being charismatic.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Obama, hope and change, and then the financial crisis happened, and he totally screwed over all the homeowners and regular people, and opened his checkbook for Citibank and all the, so
yeah, it's I think,
and I think that led to Trump, basically.
There are a lot of people on the right also that will say what you just said, that it's really the Obama years where things started to. In the irony of, wow, we have our first black president, and yet that's the moment where things actually started, like the critical race theory stuff started getting jammed down people's throats. The what was it? Common Core stuff started to reshape curriculum across the country, and I think that was part of that process where now you're starting to teach kids in school to hate each other. Like,
it's a tricky problem because it's like, we have to teach our history, but at the same time, you got white kids and black kids in there, and like, how do you present it in a way that is helpful and good for everyone? And I think you do need to do it, but I had the same thing with religion, where they taught religion in there. I was really scared because I was scared my son and my daughter were going to be exposed to stuff that I didn't want them to, and I didn't have any control over it. And it was scary for me.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about Islam and different, Buddhism and stuff.
And they don't talk about Christianity, not in a fair way. They, which there's a book, I forget exactly the title, but it was something like religious illiteracy or something like that. And the premise of it, I didn't finish the book, and I don't remember how far I got, but the premise essentially was that, the free exercise of religion and the lack of an establishment of a religion does not mean that we don't talk about religion. And part of our problem is that we've completely shut down that stuff in our schools. And it's making it so that we're not educated. We're not actually educated about the world because you can't
if you take that piece out of the puzzle of world history, like it's just not going to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it is literally like the most important thing for 90% of 95, if depending on how far back you go. 98% of all humans ever, right?
Right.
I mean, it's maybe 30% of Americans are kind of like nuns, but even they aren't exactly not religious or atheists. They're kind of like, I don't know. But the rest of the world is pretty much 100% religious in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So how do you take that out? But the case I think he was making also was that in other places of the world they do a full treatment of every religion without endorsing it, but like a fair treatment.
Right. I think that would be good just for like tolerance of other people, because you might understand them more. If you're in a Walmart or something and like you're stuck somewhere, like, are you celebrating, Rosh Hashanah or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
And usually if you know something about what someone believes, they're excited if somebody else knows about it, and they'll want to talk about it, so it's like,
and I mean, if you're a Christian and you want to reach people, knowing those stories and creating that connection and going, wait, you're a Christian and you know this and you know my story. Like, that's an opportunity. If what you want to do is share Jesus with everybody, that just created an
make a friendship with them and lead to something else. Yeah.
Yeah, because even in America, very conservative fundamentalist Christianity doesn't want to talk about the other religions, right? So like nobody wants to talk about Christianity, and then some of the people that are Christians don't want to talk about any other religion. So it's like this weird kind of thing, which,
it's a social taboo now.
Our kids are homeschooled, and we have essentially like a classical curriculum, which follows essentially the kind of education that built Western civilization, and it goes into all of these things. Like, they read about the Greeks and the Romans and their gods, and they learn about Buddhism, and they learn about, it's and the role in shaping different parts of the world, and Islam and other things. They get it. And if you look at our founders, I mean, these were very deeply religious Christian men for the most part. I know there's some. I think
there are a lot of deists and stuff, but yeah,
there's some deists, but I mean, George Washington in prayer about certain things. I mean, if you're a full deist, deist.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Washington. But yeah.
But
only thing I'm saying that is sometimes that's exaggerated in order to be sort of as long as people aren't like weird about it, it's fine.
Yeah. So, but my point is actually, these guys were Christians, and yet they knew the classics, and there is Greek and Roman mythology built into our culture too. Well,
I mean, I went to like a super conservative Christian school, and like we didn't read like Homer's Odyssey. So like the movie's coming out this summer, and I talked to my friend, and he's like, "You never read this?" I was like, "No, it was like a worldly book. We weren't allowed to."
Yeah.
If you're talking about an intellectually rigorous form of Christianity, I'm all for that.
Well, that's the kind that was the force behind much of, maybe people would say that was evil, but I think the fact that everybody wants to come here is kind of, I mean, it can't be all evil,
right.
So, and it isn't just a white thing. Like, it was, Roman Empire spanned basically 3 continents. You got Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia. Like, it was all over the place, and there were people, all different skin colors and all different everything, that it was a very, very important, powerful force for a variety of cultures. But anyway, what else?
We're going to talk about like some thoughts I had after what I talked about last week with the my obsessive fears that maybe I'm like selling out and giving quarter or enabling like white supremacy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not a white supremacist. I don't know if that helps. It's evil. It's awful. Racism is bad.
And I am not an atheist communist.
There you go.
So, it was actually very powerful for me, because it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's almost like I didn't really realize it was like this touchy of a subject, but like once I got into it, I was like, this could maybe go the wrong direction if I'm not careful. So it was like, I appreciate that you're patient with me, and like you didn't jump to conclusions or anything, because that in a way it was almost like, because if you had reacted to what I was implying, and then you started saying like, I'm not a white supremacist, why would you say that, blah 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 blah, and then I would be like blah 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 blah, and then we'd both go away. I'd be like, well, maybe he is a white supremacist. So it's like, so the fact that you're just like, all right, let me hear everything you got to say. All right, yeah, and then this and this and this. Because like as I was talking about it, I was like, all right, so wait, this doesn't totally, like what I'm saying doesn't totally make sense, because it sort of has this idea of evil that if something's a certain way and you can say that it's on a trajectory, then it automatically is the end point. Mm. And so like you could say that about me. You're like, Mike likes Mondani, you know, like I don't know that much about him. Like he might be an idiot, but just from what I see on TV, he's like our guy now. So, but say, well, he's a communist, or, you know, and well, that means Mike is a Marxist and wants to create an authoritarian government to destroy all religion as the opiate of the people. It's like, well, no, wait a minute.
Yeah, well.
So, and it also kind of presupposes like that evil is sort of always goes in a straight line.
Yeah. And
it's like, there's something illogical about it that I'm having a hard time. Maybe you could say it for me or something. But there was something it was a really clear thought of how like, just like, that's not how evil works. It's kind of like what the Pharisees were doing with you know, the prostitutes and the tax collectors. Like, don't let them sit with you because you're going to get stained by their
cooties.
You know, yeah. And it's like, yeah, but then when you're sitting opposite a real person in real life who's your friend, it's like, this doesn't really make sense. I mean, that's kind of every single thing in my life where I've had like a major change, where like I was afraid of a certain group, and then like I didn't really know any better, and then I became friends with someone in that group, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe that was kind of dumb. So it kind of felt like that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that there aren't groups that you should be afraid of, or shouldn't be. Yeah. It doesn't mean that there's no groups to be afraid of. And I think there is something to what you were kind of asking last week. Like, well, am I, just because he's funny, like, is that just getting me wrapped into like evil? I mean, the world like is Trump, evil. Yeah. The world is evil. Government is evil.
I mean, you're funny too.
Thank you. Sometimes, not always, but it is a disarming thing. I mean, like you can't get anywhere really without at least having some sense of humor.
Yeah.
But evil is like this is, you know, Lutheranism is very, very consumed with this idea that, you know, sin is just everywhere. Evil is just everywhere. It's in us. It's just so overwhelming. It's like soaking every single thought, word, deed. Like
it permeates everything.
Yes, exactly. And people might come away with feeling like that's very depressing. And it is, unless you know it to be true from experience.
Yeah, that's always been my thing, is like I'm like, I feel this every day. So like the fact that someone's talking about it, it's almost like you go to the doctor and it's like, oh, you have cancer. Thank you. It's like not great to have cancer, but at least you're not saying I'm fine and everything's great.
Now I know, like when I get up and I start walking and I fall over, like there's a reason, right? And something's in my brain that's pressing on something, or it's in my spine, or it's in, So, but beyond that, even is just it's freeing. Because if everything is really that bad, then who are you to get your panties in a bunch over trying to fix it? You know, like you can fix it.
Yeah, like we don't want to be nihilists, but then at the same time, like, yeah, you have to have humility and like.
But you can also fix it in a more reasonable way. Like you can fix it by, first of all, acknowledging that within your fix, you have to account for this, right? Like that's something that I feel like, particularly on the left, not to pick on the left, but, you know, especially communism, it's like you got to have a lot of faith in humanity to make this work. Like, I don't have that much faith in humanity. I don't. And so for that reason, I'd rather it be a free-for-all than, create this, collective or whatever. Like, so,
right.
But you can account for it in a way that's realistic and that's actually helpful. And Tim Keller tells this story. There's a guy, Ben something or whatever, and he's a writer, and he wrote this article for some paper probably 15 years ago or 20 years ago or something like that. And he's talking about how when he was just a writer and he wanted to be a great writer, he couldn't actually get criticism. Like, he couldn't really be a great writer because writing was everything to him. And so he would read his writing and he wouldn't be able to see how it could be better because it had to be good. Right. And so at some point he got a girlfriend or something, he got married or whatever. And so now, like, the number one love of his life was this woman. Right. And when that happened, and then when some other things happened or whatever, like, writing was no longer like it had to be perfect. And so he could actually hear people's criticism of his writing, and therefore he could get better. Right. So
yeah, like, I relate to that very strongly. Yes.
So if your system has to be perfect,
right. Yeah.
And you need your system to do it because you don't have Jesus.
Like
you don't have
religious dogma.
Yeah. I've noticed that in myself, that as I've gotten older, as I've gotten more mature in my Christian faith and all that kind of stuff, like, I've been able to better take criticism about things, not take things as personally. That doesn't mean I never take anything personally, but, sometimes you should take things personally, like it was actually a personal thing, and you shouldn't ignore it like somebody's trying to tell you something. But yeah, the world is far more evil and destructive and everything than you realize. Government itself is evil. God himself says it, that, the Israelites are demanding a king. We want to be like everybody else. And he's like, all right, but let me tell you what this is all going to be about. You know? And
it's going to take your daughters. It's going to take all your land, and it's going to take your stuff.
And I remember
take your sons.
I remember two moments where that passage was kind of thrown at me. One time, there's a guy on social media, talks about politics. He's liberal. He's a pastor. I just don't find him to be very helpful at this point. I thought he was a little bit early on, but he's just a partisan, like, make Trump always look bad, make conservatives always look bad, conservative evangelicals, they're always wrong, and they're always evil, and they're always doing things that Jesus would never do, except I'm going to do them now too. Like, so he went on this 1 Samuel 8 passage because conservatives were going, like, we want a king to fight our battles. We want a king to fight our battles. That's the line in 1 Samuel 8. And then I remember going to what's the name of this place called? It's in Lancaster, Pennsylvania area.
Oh, yeah, Sight and Sound.
Sight and Sound Theater, yes.
Yeah.
And they did David. We went to see David a few years ago. And I'm sitting there in, like, the second row watching that scene that they are putting on, in live action for you on the stage. No, we want a king to fight our battles. And it was very convicting. Like, they did a good job of not holding back from the biblical message there, that ultimately, God is our king. Christ is our king.
Yeah.
And
Angel Studios does that too. Yeah, a lot of their movies have a similar message. And
Christ is king.
I was telling my friend, like, it's really important. Like, that's really good that they're doing that because that's their customers.
Yeah. I'm going to make a note about that because we have some Angel Studio stuff, and I haven't really been focusing on it much. Don't have a whole lot of free time, so. don't sit around watching streaming or anything. But those two things happen and were convicting for me and continue to be convicting for me. But I'm finding more and more that the side that needs to hear that is the other side. Like, I mean, I know that, but I'm not sure the other side knows that. Like I told you, this one guy, political commentator, left-leaning pastor, right? It's like, dude, but you keep doing the same thing. You keep saying, like, the government needs to be Christian and it should look like this, which is the opposite of Trump. And I'm like, so you want a king to fight your battles? Like, that's what I keep coming away with. And it just seems like it's not obvious to him that he is essentially his foil. You know, like so, yeah.
It feels like we're in a ship. Like, we need to like row somewhere and get out of the water. But like, we just keep fighting, and so we just sit here and like, we've only got a certain amount of food.
Yeah,
it's like we don't have enough guys to row on our own. We have to row together. Yeah, we just keep fighting.
So, you know, we've got this workbook coming out, and then the idea that I had, you know, the sermon series, Christa Publicrats, and sort of shaping some sort of Christian way of viewing public policy or government or something like that. And I think there are things that we could rally people around that would be better than parties or politicians or government even, maybe, or that government is more of a byproduct. But I think some of the first things are unplugging ourselves, like the Matrix. You know, you get those things in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Like we are plugged into
right. We just hear certain things and we just go a certain way. It's like a reaction. We don't even know we're doing it.
And we have to unplug ourselves and be able to think more clearly. And interestingly enough, I actually, because I follow the investing world a little bit because I used to be in that world, I find Wall Street types tend to be more unplugged from the political drama than most. Now, I think that's mainly because they're essentially greedy and it's all about money and they're just playing, greedy maybe is a strong word, but there are people that
I think I can understand what you're getting at. Is like, it's in the Return of the Jedi, or the Last Jedi. It was the Last Jedi. Part of that movie was showing how like the rebels and the Empire both buy their spaceships from the same people, and so those people don't really care who's buying their spaceships. They just want to sell spaceships.
Exactly.
So like the Wall Street guys are just like, they kind of see how it's a little bit fake.
Yes, exactly. And there's one guy in particular that, you know, when the whole Iran thing came out, I don't know if he came out with this phrase. I think it was, you know, trademarked somewhere else, but like the taco idea, Trump always chickens out. But then he's got a lot of conservative people that follow him. They were all pissed off. And he's like, tapa. Trump always pivots away or something like that because chickening out was too weak sounding.
Yeah, but, I had the same feel, like Trump changing his mind and pulling back from doing something that's going to have very strong consequences. I don't see that as a flaw.
Exactly. You know, like, and that's what we were talking about a little bit ahead of time, you know, that Trump actually listens to people. He doesn't take what they say necessarily as gospel, and he doesn't just like change his position, but it does frame how he views something. And, you know, you got a guy like Bill Maher who went to have dinner with him, who Trump still attacks, you know, verbally at least. and Bill Maher still goes after Trump, but it was kind of shocking, Bill Maher, you know, the response to that, because there's a lot of pressure on him to come out and be like, oh, Trump's a low-life D-bag, like, and he said, no, it wasn't. I know what he's like out on TV. I know he's this, I know he's that, but he was gracious. He was he let me talk. He asked me for my opinion about things. And I think there is more of a character and a caricature of him. But somebody who can change their mind is really a lot more helpful in government than somebody.
I think he's trying to like bluster to like get them to like, but the problem is like if you do it every time, then they kind of like, well, he's not going to really do it. So then,
yeah, but that's not what's happening.
It's tricky.
But that's not what's happening. People, well, they're constantly terrified all the time. But back to this guy, he's a Wall Street guy, and he's just like, I just want to make the most money I can, and I need to be a good predictor of the markets. And if I'm going to be a good predictor of the markets, I have to see reality. And
you can't be like too emotional in like with some person or group or something like that.
So he viewed the beginning of that whole Iran thing. He's like, oh, this is something how Trump is and blah, blah, blah. It'll be over quickly. And then it wasn't over as quickly as he thought. And then, he started to get nervous, but then at some point he was like, no, Trump knows. He knows this will be terrible for the Republicans in the midterms. He is going to do what he can to make this go away as quickly as possible, while also getting everything that he can possibly get out of it, right? So, like, he's not going to just roll over. He's going to do the theater. He's going to play the game, and that's essentially at some point how the markets now react. Right. They don't even react to anything related to Iran anymore, hardly, because they believe until they're convinced otherwise by real life data.
Right. Yeah. He's not like Trump's not irrational.
Not nearly as irrational as people make him out to be. We're all a little irrational. So
yeah.
And he sure does a good job of convincing people he's irrational or borderline insane. So I don't.
You read his Truth Social stuff. Like, exactly. I don't read that because it gets me too freaked out. Like, I don't read that.
I don't either. I mean, every once in a while I get something. I just go scroll. But it's so you sent me something today, or no, a few days ago.
Yeah.
About monoculture, and I think it relates to this that we've been so obsessed with the mainstream media, the major networks, the news, and keeping up with all kinds of things, and feeling like we could go from one part of the country to another and we're all basically the same and all that kind of stuff. And really this video on monoculture, what was it, the medieval something guy?
His channel is called the Medieval Mindset.
Medieval Mindset. Okay, so check it out. And this guy basically goes through and says that, this was like a unicorn in the wilderness, like from the 1940s to the 1960s or 70s or something like that, 80s.
It's whenever like you got cable, I guess, when he had it, like a jillion different channels.
Yeah, where everybody pretty much watched the same thing, heard the same news, and it created this uniformity that he made the case, I thought fairly convincingly, that has never been a thing in history. And that history has always been culture has always been more localized culturally. So, and right now we're going back in that direction because of things like the algorithm.
Yeah.
And so it could be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing where it's like,
yeah, the tricky thing is like now we have like weapons that can actually kill like a lot more people.
Yeah.
So like back then it would just be swords. So like even like worst case scenario, it's gonna be like thousands, not millions or something.
But he makes the case, I think, that just disconnect from it and get local, like actual local, like where you live and where you work. Like,
yeah, I've been trying to do that in Hagerstown. It's really hard, and I have to like I have to accept some things about myself that are unpleasant. Like I've had a subscription to the paper for like 6 weeks and I've only read it once because I really don't care. Because Trump is entertaining.
Yeah.
But like the local news that's going to affect like my kid's school or where I live or what programs are going to be available if I lose my job, that's all work.
Yeah.
And I'm too lazy.
I don't know that it's lazy. Well, first of all, ADHD, neurodivergence, it's not lazy. It's not lazy. It's a attention issue and distraction, right? It's working executive function issue, I think. But also our society has become less and less disciplined over time and more interested in comfort than ever before. So the SMA meeting was today, and I don't remember. Oh, okay. We were talking. There was like this one guy and this one gal. She helped put together the National Day of Prayer event. He was at a local community Easter sunrise service on Easter Sunday. And they were talking about that. She said, "Oh, that was great how you helped with that," or whatever he did. I don't know what he did. And then he was like, "Yeah, but it's like sunrise. Like, whoa, that's early." And then they got into this thing about comfort. And people used to not bat an eye at some of these things. And then we talked about the National Day of Prayer. It rained that day, and it was like, oh my goodness, it's so hard.
Yeah, I think that goes to like we don't believe it's true.
Well, the more that we advance in technology, in prosperity, and whatever, the less willing we are to deal with discomfort.
Yeah.
And yet discomfort.
Like if you really believe that you're talking to God and that he's going to do something because you talk to him at a certain time, like you would get up and do it. But like they don't really maybe believe it. So like then it's like, well, this is just sort of like a social construct or something. Like maybe they wouldn't say it that way, but like in their heart, there's something that like they don't believe it's really true. Like they're not going to really talk to God and God's not going to listen and God's not going to do anything. So it doesn't matter if I skip it.
Maybe, but I think just more generally that we don't do hard things. Like it wasn't exactly about like prayer, but just this idea that the easier our lives become, the less willing we are to endure discomfort, whether it's rain, whether it's waking up early, and discipline is uncomfortable. And yet that's what we need. Like we need to just, hey, this is important. This is why I'm here.
Right.
And, I need to read the paper.
Yeah.
Why? Because I need to read the paper. Like the mindset that was driving things 50 years ago, 100 years ago, like we kind of need a little more of that back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a lot more fulfillment actually in those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it compounds over time. Like you gradually start to understand your city and where you live. And, like my city now basically is like the mall and like a couple things in town. That's what I am aware of to a certain, so like there's this whole thing there that's got all these stories and people and characters and like I'm totally oblivious to it because I haven't invested the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a crazy world, but get involved locally, find out who your mayor is, your city council, your county legislators or parish council is what we have. They're not counties, they're parishes here in Louisiana. But, those kinds of things, your school board, your, local nonprofits, right? When have you spent time at a local nonprofit or on a board for a local nonprofit or in your church, right? I mean, so many people just want nothing to do with churches because I know it's messy. But we got to do something, and it's got to be something more than just, binging Netflix or something. Like, there is more to life. And in John 4, Jesus meets this woman at the well, and his disciples go in to get food. He has this interaction with her where she finally realizes, oh, this is the Messiah, and she goes off into the village, like, screaming, like, oh my goodness, there's this guy who told me everything I ever did. You should come see him. Could this be the Messiah? And she runs off right as the disciples are coming back, and they went into the village to get food, so they've got food, and they're like, wow, what was that all about? But, oh, hey, Rabbi, we got food. And he's like,
pizza's here.
yeah, and he's just like, nah. Like, well, you sent us in to get food. Weren't you hungry? He's like, I have food to eat that you do not know about. And they're like, does he have food? Where is the food? Why did he send us in to get food if he's got food? It's so funny, Jesus. Like, if you put yourself in these situations, like, it's so bizarre. But he says, my food is to do the will of my Father. There is something nourishing and strengthening and fulfilling about doing the will of God, doing what we were put here to do. And what we were put here to do was to glorify God, not to glorify the gods of Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and all those things. Like, that is not what we were put here for. We were put here for work. Doesn't mean we shouldn't enjoy life or, relax and rest.
Yeah.
But it's.
Well, yeah, I think with the Netflix stuff and YouTube, it's sort of like you're going to live vicariously through these stories. I mean, I watch a lot of TV and a lot of YouTube and stuff, but I'm just saying, like, when I'm doing it in an unhealthy way, it is because I'm trying to. I feel like my life is boring or there's something not fulfilling. But that's the irony. It's like, we'll read your paper. You are needed. There's like this loneliness epidemic and this thing with, like, men feeling lost. It's like, well, the stuff's not going to just come to you. You have to go get it. It's like getting a rebound in basketball. Just get the ball.
and it's not just boring. Like, oh, my life is boring, so I'll just veg out. I think it's avoidance too. Like, my life is far too complicated for me to fix, and so I'm going to just live vicariously through these other people where there will, more often than not, be some sort of nice little resolution at the end of some kind.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I can forget about all my problems and pretend that I'm solving my problems by ignoring them and watching somebody else solve their problems. Right. Which is also the attraction to national news. It's close enough to make you sort of care, but it's also, like, distant enough, and you're powerless enough that it's like over there, and it gives you some sense like you're participating in this, but really you're just you're not doing anything, and you're not dealing with your own real issues. Like, that is definitely a thing that I've noticed, that people that are the most consumed with some of this stuff should be far more concerned with their own lives. Like they should be far more focused on addressing some of their own baggage, and when the more I get sucked in, the more I realize, like, whoa, I don't know. I got a wife and 4 kids that are relying on me, and there's issues, and I got to deal with them. I can't get lost off in Trump land or liberal land or whatever land. Like, I got to be focused on our little piece of heaven, So I don't know if that makes any sense. We've been talking a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a good talk.
Hopefully I didn't give you things to come back to later and say, Emil, you were kind of a real putz about you're such a huge jerk. You're a white supremacist. You're a whatever. But
I'm a recovering white supremacist. Put it that way. I acknowledge that it is sinful, and I acknowledge that I am not able of my own strength to remove it from myself. And I trust God more and more to take that away from me.
We are all struggling with that or something else. Like there's always some temptation of Satan to get us off into things that we shouldn't be. So.
Yeah, it's basically any situation where I see that I can possibly have some kind of advantage that would be in my favor, that my sinful nature latches onto it.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be skin color.
Yeah.
You know,
we girls, women.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I should be and they should ask me. I'm the man in the room. Why'd they ask her? You
know. Tim Keller talks about this a lot in his sermons about a variety of different things. And we talk about self-righteousness, right? You take the things that you do, that you pride yourself in, and you make those the all-important non-negotiables. And then you impose that on other people. And like, I think there's one example he uses sometimes of basically cultures that are time-oriented versus event-oriented. So you have cultures, more often than not, white culture, essentially, Germans, Scandinavians, right? Like there's a time thing. Like everything starts at 3:00. Everything starts at 4, or it starts at 12:30. Make sure you're there. And then there's other cultures that are not like that. And I think he used some example about like weddings and like a white wedding basically and a Latin American wedding or something like that. And he's like, well, all the people that are these people, they're all upset because X. And then that the other people are all upset like because you're so stuffy. Like, why does it have to be so precise? Like, doesn't it matter that we're all here? Like, just wait another 2 minutes for everybody to be here. And they think you're disrespectful if you're late, and they think you're disrespectful if you're rude about it, and you start without people that need to be there. Like, but which one is right?
You're off on a bad foot, and like you just look at things a different way.
But which one is really right? Is there a right one? Not really.
Yeah, right.
So.
Yeah, I heard a similar one time about the invention of like the clock or the watch, and just how like we weren't really meant like through most of our history to like be that exact about the time on things. Like it was like when the sun comes up and when the sun goes down, basically. But like in a mechanized world, like factories and stuff, like they depend on that, precision.
Yeah.
And then just more and more and more and more and more. And that's why the idea of like the Sabbath or the Lord's Day. It's like, no, wait a minute. You're not just here to work all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's leave it there for now. Jesus first, politics second. Look at two people getting along that maybe shouldn't otherwise. Although we are separated by Zoom, so maybe if we had to be in the same room, we would be less kind. I don't know. But just remember, Jesus is king. You probably don't have enough to spare. The world is far more broken and evil than you realize, and so are all the people in it. But God is good, and he gives us grace in the here and now. And he's got a glorious promise of an eternity of rest in a place that is truly home, that isn't a place that doesn't quite fit. I should have thought of this earlier. Like Men in Black. Edgar, your skin's falling off. Like the alien puts on his skin or something like that. The guy's got like that. That's
like the skin is rotting. So like as it goes further and further along, his face is like drooping down to his neck.
Yeah, and that's like us living in this world. So take the gifts of Jesus.
Yeah.
Take them seriously, receive them. They're for you, and they're helpful, and I think they will help us all really navigate this world a little bit better. But we'll catch you later.
All right.
Stay sane, y'all. Stay and see that the Lord is good.